And welcome to the St. Patrick's Day edition of And They're Off. We're lucky enough to be through to the final Kentucky Derby prep races. The so-called 100 pointers are coming up. And this Derby picture to me seems about as clear as a Jackson Pollock painting. We are lucky enough to have Steve Haskin with us. Steve, what did we learn from the Rebel Stakes the other day other than D. Wayne Lukas has a cushy seat at the table?
What are you asking me for? My brain is like a Jackson Pollock painting. So, hey, look, when you get past Lukas and when you get past Baffert and when you get past Pletcher, there's not much room left at the table. Those guys are hogging everything just like they did years ago. Well, Pletcher still keeps doing it, but you know, Mr. Baffert and Mr. Lukas have not won a Derby in a long time, so I'm sure they're relishing another potential feast in front of them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But it's nice to have Wayne back. You know, when he runs 1-2 in the Rebel Stakes with Will Take Charge and Oxbow. So it'll be an interesting turn of events having him with both. I actually put Will Take Charge on the Derby Dozen at number 12, but I did move Oxbow up because I was actually more impressed with him. He did all the dirty work, and you can read all about it on Derby Dozen. I'm not going to get into it right here, but I thought Oxbow actually ran a very good race after having another wide trip going into the first turn. Jockey Mike Smith needed to get used to him, made a couple of premature moves, but he will improve off of it, and I still like Oxbow a lot. What about you?
I love Oxbow. I love them going into that race, and look, this is a horse that is battle-tested. He is out there running frequently, and I think that's going to pay off come May. So I'm very high on Oxbow. I think there's room to improve. You're right, he's been wide in, it seems like every race he's parked out. So, you know, I thought he moved early on him, and I love him at this point. If somebody dares to ask me who my Derby horse is, I think I'm going to tell them Oxbow, though I discourage people from asking that.
My take on that is that I think he's going to improve a lot with Mike Smith's second race because, you know, when Mike Smith on the turn, he asked him to run on the turn when Super 99 easily took over the lead and started opening up, and he figured he couldn't let him get a big jump on him, so he asked his horse to keep up with him, and I don't think he realized how quick and powerful a move Oxbow has, and before he knew it, he was all over Super 99, and then turning for home, he already had put him away and had the lead, and that's the last place he wanted to be. Yeah. He was on the lead turning for home, so I think now he's going to learn how to time his move on this horse a lot better.
Yeah, there's a lot of upside there. Steve, it seems to me that if you don't like Verrazano to win the Derby, this is a total grab bag of three-year-olds at this point, and maybe it's time to pay attention to some allowance and impressive maiden winners even at this late date, especially if they happen to be by AP Indy, Steve.
Well, it's funny you should bring that up. There just happens to be an AP Indy that fits that description that you just mentioned. And you know I'm always on the lookout for AP Indies because I want to keep my partner happy and enthused about the Derby Trail. And as long as there's an AP Indy on there, I know you're going to be happy. Yes. And when you're happy, I'm happy. But Incognito, a Darley colt, broke his maiden at Aqueduct and looked very impressive. Now, it's a question of what they're going to do with him now. Are they going to try and put him on the Derby Trail by getting in with putting him in one of those 100-pointers, which is, you know, a bit ambitious, yeah, or do you wait for the Preakness? But if you look at this horse, he's a great moving horse, and he's got a beautiful stride to him, and he's got an incredible pedigree. Not only is he by AP Indy, but he's out of Octave, and everybody remembers Octave for all her big stakes victories for Pletcher and Starlight, and her big fast-closing second in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. So the horse is regally bred, and let's put it this way, I don't think you'll see him in Darley colors anymore. I think he's going to be a slightly more of a shade of blue in his next time he runs. But anyway, watch out for Incognito. And listen, there was a couple of others over the weekend that, War Academy, another Baffert horse that he's been very high on from day one. I thought he looked terrific in an allowance race. He didn't beat much, but I just liked the way he did it. He runs a lot like his sire, Giant Causeway, and he's got that low action. And his problem is, again, lack of seasoning, and he's only his third start, and he really hasn't been tested yet. But Baffert definitely will try to get him in the Derby. And then two others who will not make the Derby. They're just too far behind, and it's unfortunate because they both look like exceptional horses. Is Zykov, who's trained by Pletcher, who absolutely demolished a maiden field going 6 furlongs, a 109.4. And David Carroll sent out a colt named Abstraction, who easily won his maiden race at Fairgrounds, going 2 turns, mind you. And he won by over 9 lengths, and also did it as if he was in a workout. So I would watch for those two horses more down the road. But for now, Incognito, I don't think he'll be incognito any longer.
From A to Z and Incognito in between, Steve.
Yes.
There you go. All right. Just before the Breeders' Cup Board of Directors was to meet earlier this month to decide the fate of Lasix and its races, an attorney representing owners Gary and Mary West threatened the Breeders' Cup with a lawsuit if they decided to continue banning Lasix. Let me repeat that. These owners are threatening to sue because the Breeders' Cup dared to try to get drugs out of racehorses. This piece of intimidation, as well as the dozens of the sky is falling proclamations from the pro-Lasix crowd, make me wonder whether these people realize that horses raced for hundreds of years without God's gift to equines, Lasix. How the heck were they able to do that and survive? How did the sky not fall? Now, I can see why the West were so concerned that they had to resort to this type of bullying. After all, they've run a total of 3 horses in the Breeders' Cup, none of whom got within a sniff of a placing. So clearly, given that success, they wouldn't want to change anything. The Daily Racing Form of March 15th carried a story on the West that spent several paragraphs on Mr. West pontificating about Lasix. Nowhere in that story was it mentioned that Mr. West was threatening to sue the Breeders' Cup if he didn't get his way on the vote to ban Lasix. Congratulations to the Daily Racing Form. That was some great reporting job. Steve?
Wow.
You want to stick up for the Racing Form, Steve?
Well, I mean, I know you're going to Florida tomorrow, but you're making it awfully hot up here for everybody. That was quite a comment, attacking Gary West and the Daily Racing Form.
I have done nothing but point out several facts.
Yeah, listen, I understand where you're coming from, but I still can't get a grasp on the Lasix issue because it's so divided. And right now, until we have further studies, more comprehensive studies, I could see both ways of thinking. Obviously, people are very passionate, whichever side they take on it. And, as far as the Breeders' Cup, I don't understand what good it does. The one thing I will say, I don't understand what good it does taking a horse off of Lasix for the one race, knowing that he's going to go right back on it again afterwards. Basically, what we need is some kind of consistency, and I'm not seeing the consistency. Listen, their intent is good as long as it's not strictly for show, but it's got to be more. It's got to be more consistent. As for Gary West, I really don't know him personally. I do know he's put a lot of money into this sport for over 20 years. And he's had some tough luck, and he's persevered through it, and he's been a big supporter of racing. And he's the kind of guy that basically maintains a low profile. So this is something different. He's not used to seeing his name in headlines. I don't know if he intended to. I think he's just doing what he feels strongly about. So I'm certainly not going to vilify him for his beliefs on this matter. To what extreme he took it, that's that's up to him. But I do know that he's been a great supporter of racing. And as far as Lasix, listen, I honestly don't know what's right and what's wrong at this stage. So I'll hold my opinions at that. But
well, yeah, obviously,
Gary West. I mean, I can't take issue with Gary West. I mean, he's loaded with Derby horses this year. He's been in all the big races. He's got a top older horse. And like I said, he's been putting money into the game for a long time. Never heard him complain. He's had some tough luck. He's lost the Derby favorite.
You just did hear him complain by threatening a lawsuit. Look, obviously smart people disagree over this Lasix thing. But it seems to me if people are calling out for study, then the Breeders' Cup is well within its, not only its rights, but moving this along by running races without it so that people can study the effects of it. You know, it's a start. How the hell else are you going to study it if nobody else is going to ban the stuff? I mean, how are you supposed to study it if nobody's going to run without it? So
yeah, but I just don't know their ultimate. I just don't know their ultimate intent because
neither do they.
For one race,
neither do they. They're clearly divided, and you know my point is that this kind of intimidation, this kind of if I don't get my way, I'm taking my ball and going, oh, or even worse, if I don't get my way, I'm going to sue you. You know, that is not the correct attitude to move this down the road, in my opinion.
Well, you know, it's not like a monetary lawsuit. I think he's just basically taking action because he tried to get through to the Breeders' Cup, and he claims he never heard back from them, and they haven't done anything. They haven't acknowledged, you know, his letters to them. So I think he just got frustrated and took the only course of action that he had left. Yeah. And he felt that it was necessary. He's not looking to sue the Breeders' Cup for $1 million. He's just looking for them to listen to what he has to say. That's all.
Yeah. Well. All right. Good argument, Steve. Attaboy.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. That's what I like. That's what I like.
Now we're awake. The newly formed New York State Gaming Commission showed its courage last week by slapping the wrist of trainer Rudy Rodriguez after 2 of his horses tested positive for flunixin last year. That's a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. The commission suspended Rodriguez 40 days, then immediately shortened that to 20 days, a suspension that happens to end 2 days before Rodriguez will saddle Vijack in the Wood Memorial. Boy, there's a penalty that's going to deter trainers from giving drug overages to horses. Way to go. Rodriguez has attracted attention before because he's a former employee of multiple violator Rick Dutrow, and because he began his training career a few years ago by winning an absurd percentage of races. The commission came down so hard on him, it's allowing Rodriguez to transfer his horses to his brother. But don't worry, the commission said it is going to check, quote, various financial records, unquote, to make sure Rodriguez has no role in training the horses. So I guess if he and his brother go out to lunch, the commission will be combing over the restaurant tab to see if they talked about horses or not. Do you see why, based on these 2 stories, there is a drug problem in this sport? And an even larger perception problem if people are asked why they're not fans of horse racing? And why racing is never going to attract people until it makes radical changes in how it does business? Steve, how about that slap on the wrist?
Somebody's on the muscle today.
What a deterrent, huh? What a deterrent to trainers.
Well, the thing I don't understand is the 40 days to 20 days. Why don't you explain to the folks why they changed it from 40 to 20?
I don't know why they changed it, but my suspicion is somebody said, "Hey, this guy is going to make a big stink because he's not going to be able to train Vijack in the wood if you give him 40 days." That would be my suspicion.
Supposedly they lowered it to 40 days under the stipulation that he doesn't have any more positives, which to me it makes very little sense. I don't think I've ever seen that stipulation before, but what can I tell you? Listen, if I got into it with you, we'd be here for another 20 minutes. So let's put it this way. I think you said basically all there is to say. you know, as far as Rudy Rodriguez, you know, we've been here before with other trainers and other suspensions. I just hope, you know what? To me, it goes down to, forget Rudy Rodriguez.
Yeah.
It gets down to Vijay. I just want this horse's accomplishments to be recognized and not have the horse suffer the way I'll have another suffered,
Yeah.
and the way Big Brown suffered by guilt by association. I just hope people just concentrate on the horse. Vijay is a terrific horse. He's undefeated. He's one of the favorites for the Derby. Whatever happens with the suspension, you know, it'll play out. So.
Yeah, well, they've given the New York Times the bad news headline for this year's Kentucky Derby.
Yeah,
so that,
unfortunately.
That is
unfortunately
clearly just a matter of time before we read that one. All right. Stable Boy, any wild St. Paddy's Day outings for you?
Well, I was about 20 minutes into my celebration. I got called into a special project that that viewers can look forward to in the near future.
Was that the mourners party for the bracketology last night? Is that what you're
No,
doing?
it was before that. Hey, we're #1 seed in the NIT. That's worth something.
Back-to-back championships for Kentucky, the NCAA and the NIT. Are they going to the NIT?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
#1 seed.
All right, good. You going to New York?
No.
All right.
what an interesting St. Patrick's Day discussion that was.
Thank you, Steve. We'd like to thank our viewers. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Darby Dan Farm. We will be back at you, Steve. It's going to be April the next time we're back. April 3rd with our next And They're Off. Man, we are moving it along. Steve, see you in April.
Yeah, wow, a day before my birthday. We had a show on my wife's birthday, and now it's going to be a day before my birthday.
Excellent.
Anyway, you have an excellent vacation. Get a nice tan, enjoy the warm Florida sun, and have fun, and I'll see you soon.
With the birthday edition. All right, bye-bye, everybody.
Yeah. Bye-bye.